Oh, yes, thank you very much. All right, I'm sorry we're running a little bit late, but this is the Finance Committee of the Indian Wells Valley Water District, a regular meeting for Tuesday, January 6th, and calling to order at 3:02 PM. So with that, I will go on to any committee or public comments at this time. I have one. Happy New Year. Good. We're going to have a good 2026, everybody. All right, on to fraud risk.
We have nothing to report. I will just say that, and I probably said it last month, that we did finish our audit with the auditors back in, when was that? November.
November, yeah.
Yeah, so, and there were no findings, so.
Great. Nice timely audits. We like those. Okay. Lead by example. Any comments or questions on fraud risk? We have one already. Yes. Okay. So on fraud risk.
Yes, this is Renee Westerlusk. I live within Ridgecross city limits. I just would like to be kind of updated on like what kind of risks does a water district face that are fraudulent? Do you have any examples?
Yeah, I can. Generally, fraud falls in a lot of different categories. I mean, you can have, I guess if employees were somehow stealing money from the district, that would fall into that category. So we have lots of controls, such as we have multiple people who look at all our finances. We have multiple people have to sign off on bills before they're paid at certain levels. We have spending limits, some of which are even above my level and only the board can approve. Then there are external fraud risks, which could be people who try to hack our system and or steal our money. Then you can have physical fraud risk where people are trying to actually physically steal water. So there's a range of things that could happen, but generally we do not see, other than the occasional person who tries to steal water from their neighbor or out of a fire hydrant. I think that would be probably the most significant thing that we actually see. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Does that answer your question, Renee?
Yeah, I just want to know, has the water district ever had problems with the hacking?
Nothing of significance. Certainly nothing on the order of, I forget the term. It's when somebody like takes over your system and they hold it for ransom, like ransomware, I guess. We've never had that. We have an incredibly competent IT professional working here, Chris, who's sitting back there running this meeting, and he and I have weekly discussions about what he's doing to protect our system from hackers. And you know, nobody's perfect, but Chris is about as close as they get when it comes to being extraordinarily vigilant in keeping our system safe.
Okay. All right.
Wow. And
Thanks.
we've never had any, as far as I know, that the whole time I've been involved here, any kind of customer information or any kind of information that's ever gotten out in any way.
Okay, well, thank you for the description. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to imported water costs. What's anything new to report on that?
I think there's some new stuff to report. I have reached out to AVEC. There was a GA comment that AVEC had thrown out a number of $50 million that that they needed to upgrade their system to support the imported waterline project. So I have reached out to AVEC, and I'd like to meet with their general manager and get his viewpoint and understand what that is and what that means and who they think. The GA was unclear as who would have to pay for it. So I'm going to ask those questions myself. Haven't gotten a response from them yet. Additionally, we've learned that, as we've talked about before, the pipeline, I guess the GA board needs to make a decision whether they go with the current design, which buries the pipe about 5 feet there along that 8-mile or so Garlock Road stretch and leaves it vulnerable to being washed out, or whether they would have to go significantly deeper. And I think the best example I can give of like what the impact would be is we had I think the mayor called it Carmageddon. They were digging down China Lake Boulevard, and you saw those big metal plates they had to put in there to get deep down into the road, and it really went slow. And that's the sort of process they would need to do to get that pipe. They would, if you're going to go 14 feet deep, you have to have those big metal plates, or you have to like you have to have some like slope that would basically the whole road would be gone, so there's no way you can do that. So you have to have the shoring because it's next to the road. There's no way to not take the road out that way. And that would be a really dramatic increase in cost as well. So these are things that are as yet undefined, but certainly not, they haven't been captured in the GA's estimate of $200 million for the pipeline. And they would be additional costs if it were to be built. And I think at some point we need to understand what those are. And, you know, once we get closer, we would certainly hope that then, you know, I don't know that they've come out with a 90% design, but you would expect in a normal project at the 90% design to have a revised estimate of what the costs would be based on factors such as that.
Has there been any consideration for elevating the pipeline above ground?
I believe there is. I believe there's certain areas of it that's above ground, yeah. But even that would be a problem in these flood areas, all those
It's
pillars.
not cheap. I'm just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it seems like it'd be cheaper than going 14 feet underground, but.
Yeah, you can do that. And I know that one of the big concerns, at least what I've heard anecdotally from BLM, is that things like power lines or elevated fences are where the crows like to sit and look for the small hatchlings of the endangered desert tortoise. And so that would be a pretty tremendous obstacle because it would be a prime area for those birds just to, you know, that pipe, they would just sit up there and
Sure.
And so I think that would be a really tough one to get through the environmental stuff, particularly since that is, I think large parts of that are tortoise habitat.
Mhm.
So that would be a consideration to have to look at as well.
Thank you.
And so what you're saying is basically the cost estimate put together by our consultants back last year sometime of what, 387 million? Might have to just be looked at again if these other things actually come to fruition, at least if we find out something.
Well, and you would, you know, the best case scenario would be that the people who are designing the pipeline, the GA and their consultants, come up with the cost and give it to us with the type of details that we had in our cost estimate, but they have even greater insight than we did, and we didn't get all of the cooperation from them that we would have hoped to get. So, you know, in a real transparent government world, they should be forthcoming with those numbers.
And I'm hoping they will be. I'm hoping that our representative there will, and I'm sure he will, as time goes on, say, isn't it about time we had your engineering staff here put together a very detailed cost of this pipeline from start to finish, including how much we've spent already on just engineering and design as opposed to what's going to come out. It'd be nice to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one would also think, like, you know, if what they say in their meeting is correct, which is, you know, we're going to go after this $5 million, you know, in 2027, I don't know how anybody, even if it was only a portion of the pipeline project, I don't know how you get funding for part of a project when you haven't at least gotten to the point where you've estimated what it's going to cost in total or have a 90% plus design. I mean, Renee, you're the engineer here.
Yeah.
And also not having done CEQA, NEPA, any of the environmental stuff has been completed, so.
Yeah.
And as I understand that 1 to 5 million, that's a separate fund that's set aside for emergencies that can be performed by the Corps of Engineers. An emergency being a flash flood comes through and washes out some big water tank or washes out some railroad tracks or does something that really damages a community, then they'll come in and put it back together and you can apply for the $1 to $5 million. So I think that's the money they're looking at. And if so, I don't see how you can classify this as an emergency. But hey, we'll just keep working the issue, George. It's all we can do and be as transparent as we can with the public and what the total cost is. I also want the public, we're going to keep pushing the fact that whatever they can't get granted to them, any matching funds, anything like that, which at this particular point could be up to $250 million, would have to be somehow financed by this community. And that's a huge sum of money. And we'll be talking more about it, but a rough estimate is if you need to borrow $250 over 30 years, you're looking at paying back a total of $500 million, roughly. And if you look at the number of parcels and the acreage we have, that's a lot of money for people out here. So we'll see what their plans are. I know that they're going to have to come up with something soon, and we'll look forward to hearing what it is. Good. Anything else on that particular item? Money, 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 guys. It's just a matter of money. If you had unlimited money, you could do all kinds of stuff, couldn't you? You know, and I was thinking on the way here, just as a final note is engineering wise, if you have enough money, you could build or do about anything you want. But I think what has to happen in plans, you have to look, is it economically feasible for the community you're trying to support? Because if we could come up out of our pockets with, $1 billion and not have to put a big burden on our community, that's one thing. But I think when you look at these designs, I think Renee, anything you want to build, if you have the money, engineering can do just about anything. But can you truly afford it?
Yeah, well, and that
Yeah.
that speaks to what's going on at Searles Valley. They signed a settlement agreement
Yeah.
that says they have access to 2,000-ish acre feet of water coming off the wastewater treatment plant. And certainly that water can be treated to a level they could use it in their plant operations. There will be a cost there, but what that really means is if that occurs, the GA estimate of water that needs to go through the pipeline has always been around 3,000 acre feet a year. Now it becomes 1,000 acre feet a year. Well, what that means is when we did our cost study, everything is based on a cost per acre foot. But when you build the same cost of a pipeline and the same maintenance level of a pipeline, and the only thing that really changes is the amount you're paying for water, which is a very small percentage, maybe 1 or 2% of the total cost, and you only deliver a third as much water, your cost per acre foot, which we estimated on the low end to be $7,000 an acre foot. Now, at $7,000 an acre foot, it's above what most any water district would pay to provide water. But if your delivery goes, that's based on 3,000 acre feet a year, I believe. If you go down to 1,000 acre feet of year, now you gotta triple that. Now all of a sudden it's $21,000 an acre foot, which is so outrageous in the world of water. Like I don't know of anyone that's going to pay that kind of money to get that kind of delivery of water. So this cost per acre foot changes dramatically based on the Searles Valley Mineral Settlement and the way that has changed the landscape. And it sort of goes down the path that we've talked about, that a number of smaller projects could very easily solve our water problem, along with, an appropriate characterization of how much water we have in recharge and in storage. And so to put that simply, the pipeline just the cost of that pipeline is starting to look so untenable from a cost perspective, particularly if they're only going to deliver small amounts of water. It's hard to see how you could justify it.
It doesn't bode well for the process for them at this point to recognize that something is critical, is burying the pipeline because of this occasional, like maybe twice a year or 3 times a year, Garlock Road gets washed out. This is not to anybody in this room, in this community would go, duh,
Yeah.
right? I mean, but if the price of materials have gone up because of inflation, unexpected inflation, that's one thing. If the cost of labor goes up because, that's something else, right? But this is fundamental infrastructure issues that they should have addressed. They've had 5 years to work this.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Your engineering design firm should be able to give that to us. They ought to be able to give us exact cost, within a percent, within a plus or minus,
Absolutely.
yeah.
They should be embarrassed. to
Yeah.
have to state this fact to the public that,
Yeah.
oops, we forgot about this. And oh, by the way, it's, now going to cost however much, and they've not yet nailed down exactly what they're going to do, right? So they're still fumbling with the football.
Yeah, they haven't, as far as I know, they haven't made a decision of whether they're going to bear the extra cost to bury it deep or bear the extra cost of fixing it whenever it washes out.
I can't imagine that would be a favorable option. I mean,
I,
especially flushing that.
Hey,
right? How much
all right.
I will tell you,
right?
I'm not in favor of any of our pipelines being buried at a point where they'll wash out. Just for the record.
Remember that, John. Yeah. All right, I think we should move on. Is that okay? I got a
It
comment?
just scares me the cost of flushing that water just to put that main back into services.
Just throwing
They're
it
not,
away.
yeah.
It's
Exactly.
crazy.
All right,
Oh, sorry. Anyway, I diverted.
I guess we're ready to move on. Any comments anywhere? Oh, okay. All right, financial statements for December 31st.
Okay, halfway through the fiscal year
Wow.
already. We have budgeted revenues for 6 months at 9.7 million. We're just under 9.5 million received, so about 200,000 below
Okay.
budget. we had a wetter November, a wetter
Oh, everybody's,
December.
yeah. mhm.
Yeah. So it's not out of what we anticipated. As far as expenditures, we had a budget of 10.1 million and we're coming in about 1 million below that. So we're watching our expenditures, just to make sure we get to the end of the year in a good shape. So we're currently a net of 331,000, which is about 760,000 better than budget at this point of the year.
And it's taken me a couple of years to get to this comment. Ty, your ability to both, not just sort of predict what the budget will be, but to put the controls in place and to work with the various people at the water district to ensure that we do stay within that budget and come so close is utterly remarkable. You do such a fantastic job, you know, and it's hard to say in the first couple of meetings, but after a couple of years of watching this and seeing, you know, like you understand like when we're behind and why we're behind, or when we're above and why we're above because of the fluctuations in revenues and expenses that go on. What a fantastic job you've done and your team.
Yeah, my team, I'll speak for my team. They're great. But,
Yeah.
working with all the departments too.
That's
They
a-
all we've all bought in. We're all on the same page. We know where we're at. And so, you know, usually I don't get requests for things that are really going to put us in.
Yeah, I
trouble.
always ask John or Renee if they need something special, they go to you and they go, yeah, we do. We gotta go.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, talk to Ty. If Ty says it's okay, it's okay, but if not, it's not.
Agree with all the attaboys, George. Thanks for weighing in on
Yeah.
that. I do have a question on the net revenue, easy for me to say, net revenue increase of minus 400. Is that because of, we're using less water than we anticipated, or?
where at? I apologize.
He's looking at the budgeted column. That's what we originally budgeted.
On the budgeted,
Yeah,
yeah, budgeted negative 400,000. Usually this time of the year, it's slower. We're typically spending more than we're bringing in, and we make that up as the weather gets warmer.
Right.
okay,
So,
okay.
And of course, the other comment I'm going to make is replenishment fee, almost $16 million already.
Yep.
I'm hoping we see the 24 audit we're waiting on from the GA. Yeah.
I believe that's what they said would be.
And
in
it's
this
then
one.
November, then December, and now it's January.
Mhm.
I know David will ask for it each time, but I'm anxious to see the breakdown again when we see the audit about where that money's going, at least what we can tell
Yeah.
from it. But I mean, a total of almost between the pumping extraction fee and the ground fee of $19.5 million
I
that
water.
our ratepayers have paid. Yeah.
And remember, this replenishment fee is based on $2,000 per acre foot.
That's right. Yeah.
If we're looking at $21,000 per acre foot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
We don't want to go there. All right. Any other questions or comments on the financial statement? None? Okay, we got one from Renee. All right, Renee.
Yes, yeah, this is Renee Westerlusk again. On the, you said there's a net gain of 331,000.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, so what happens to that net gain? Does that get put in the reserve fund?
Nothing right now. It's our balance. We have to get through the fiscal year first to see where that actually ends up.
And the fiscal year ends in the middle of the year or
June 30th.
June 30th?
Yeah.
Okay, oh,
And
so
then-
you might end up with a different number by June 30th.
Absolutely, it'll be a different number.
So what happens when you do have a surplus?
When we have a surplus, typically we put it into our reserves.
Okay,
It may be used in the following year if there's special things we need, one-time things. That's always an option. But, you know, we want to make sure we keep a cushion. As you see, we had budgeted to be at a net negative right now, and that would be those reserve funds what would keep us afloat until the hotter time of the year. But right now, we're ahead of the game.
okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to the accounts payable disbursements. So let me take a look at them and see if there's any question. Obviously, under prepaid accounts, I don't mess with those because that's usually all
A lot of
employed
it's payroll.
Yeah, it's all payroll related.
Yeah.
But I can't look at all the checks. And feel free, Mel, if you see anything on all the accounts payable checks that are going out, which is the last 4 pages. Yeah, if there's anything that you have a question about. Yes,
Sorry, how much is our insurance bill increase this past year?
So we went from, I think in the previous fiscal year, we were sitting around 375,000 and we're up to about 500,000 this year.
wow.
And we've not made any claims that have resulted in them adjusting our rates?
Well, we
We had
did
the
make-
solar.
We made a solar claim. A lot of it's not specifically tied to us. There was all the fires and everything that absolutely impacts their overall because we're in a combined pool with other.
It's our fair share.
Yeah.
And we did have, was it, within this fiscal year, John, the one house where the water broke on the corner and it sprayed up on that one house and we had to do some,
I think that was last year.
was that last year's budget? Okay.
Is the I see Ramble is on here, and is that the final payment there, or what is, I know it's on a monthly,
That's not final. That's typically about monthly.
about monthly until we reach the agreed amount.
Right, and there's still some outstanding. I'd have to go
Okay.
back and look, but yeah, they're still within their budget.
They're
approved.
still, all right, they're still within budget, that's the main thing. And how about Papadopoulos, same thing?
Same.
Okay. They're still within the budget. Okay, I don't see,
I think there's a lot of work going on in those areas in preparation for not only the upcoming mediation, which
Yeah.
they will both be involved in, but as well as the scheduled trial in June, which we are really hoping goes forward and can really, we anticipate a favorable result in that trial.
what's XIT Solutions again?
That's our cameras.
Oh, it's our cameras, okay, all right.
The Edison bill, is that monthly?
That is monthly, yes.
So we should start seeing that drop off the next few months now that the solar's coming.
If we ever get any sun,
Yeah.
Too,
it's
right?
killing me at the house, I'm telling you.
What was it running us roughly last year when the solar was up and running?
Oh, solar hasn't been running for a couple of years now.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. We've been right around 600,000 a year on power costs.
Okay. Even with solar?
No, prior to
Without
that,
solar, okay.
yeah, solar, we're probably around 4.5.
Okay.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see.
I guess the good news is we got our solar panels washed prior to coming back
Yeah,
online
For free.
for free.
Did Chris go out and dry them off or did they?
I don't know.
No, that's good rain, man. That's ionized everything. It clears right off. Yeah, it's the only way. Whatever happens to me, if I go out there, I buy that stuff, I can spray the ionized, water on, clean my own. If I do that, then it rains.
Right. Washing my car.
Yeah, like washing your car. Yeah, that's the best way to get them cleaned.
I've had mine for 11 years and they have never been cleaned
By the rain.
except by rain.
Those years when it gets really dry and dusty, trust me, you can track it. I'm sure you have a graph of what yours do. Once you clean them, you see a vast improvement. But if some people just let it go.
Mine's up on the roof of my.
Oh, that's
garage.
pretty tough, yeah.
It doesn't seem to really attract much dirt. But, and the solar guys, when they installed it, they said, well, and they come out and say, no,
My biggest problem is ravens.
must be.
Uh,
And now all the Canadian snow geese.
Okay, I sort of understand everything else that's on the last page too, the second to last page. Murphy and Everett's there, Jim's company, Ramble again.
Ramble again, yeah.
So the groundwater authority line item there, help me understand, that's not a monthly, right?
Yes, that one is the pumping fee. So that one's not replenishment. We're a little behind this month and
Right.
replenishment went out in this last accounts payable.
So about 40 grand a month, huh?
Have they straightened out all their issues about credits and such now that you know of?
Yeah, Ty and I talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ty's going to give our representative, David, for the GA, sort of the bottom line of that.
Okay.
We no longer are running credits or deficits or need a reconciliation. We're just paying as we go. And
We've got one credit left for December, so when we process that payment, there'll be another $68,000 credit, and then we're square every month going forward.
Okay, all right.
I've been out of touch with finance monthly activity. We had a rate study this past year,
Mhm.
so we're probably good for
But yeah, the rate
Couple years.
study covers the next 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I believe, was it last year that we finished the year a little bit better than we anticipated and actually had extra money to put into our reserves?
Yeah.
So it was what, around $700,000? Was that what it was? Remember Stan had talked about that a lot of,
I'd have to go back and look. We had to
But the-
make adjustments here and there with the.
oh,
audit
okay, so there was
year.
some number, but the good news is that we had such a good year that instead of drawing money out of our reserves, we were putting money into our reserves, which is always our goal, to keep, we don't want to be, there's a limit to how much you have in reserves, but at this point in time, we would like to be putting more money into the reserves, and that seems to be the trajectory we are on, and that's a good thing.
Good deal,
That makes Ty smile a little bit.
right?
Is that
Having
is that a
safety.
reasonable assessment, Ty?
It is. It makes me sleep a little better at night.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on accounts disbursements? So I'll make a recommendation. I'm sorry, did you have anything, Ty? You done?
Nope.
Okay. Should we make a recommendation to the board to approve accounts disbursements?
I think that's great.
All right.
We'll brief that out.
Said and done. So that is the decision of this committee. All right. Any questions or comments?
I did have one. A particular board member asked me about the fees that our customers pay when they use credit cards and how, they're, if you pay with cash, you pay less. If you pay with a credit card, you pay more. Is that correct, Ty? There's some fees.
No, actually, there are fees that are applied to every transaction, but that is covered within the expenditures of the district. No customers are charged fees for using a credit card. We do. It's calculated into our rates.
I think we've talked about this years ago, and I think the number you came up with, I want to say it was $25,000 or something, that we decided to go ahead and just calculate it right into the rates.
Right. It's about 60,000
Yeah.
a
I
year.
mean, and I'll make a comment about that. I think that the banks need to stop it because every bank, every financial institution is encouraging cashless payments. I mean, there's actually stores that won't take cash. And so you present a credit card and they charge you about 3% is roughly what it is because you're using a credit card. So, I think everybody out there needs to call their congressman and because it's got to be a federal level that if this government and banks are going to encourage cashless payment, credit cards, debit cards, whatever it may be, they need to stop that. Because, and people don't seem to understand it, you go to a restaurant, they're charged 3% on your bill if somebody uses a credit card, and you see it passed on to you. I just think it's wrong.
So that,
It's no longer a convenience to use it, it's almost becoming a requirement to use it.
yeah, and that raises an interesting question. I mean, which is if consumers don't actually see it. So like a good example is when I pay my DMV fees, I typically pay them online.
Yeah.
And when you go to pay them online, they go, here's how much it is. And then when you go, oh, but if you're going to use a credit card, it's going to cost you an extra X percent. Because I'm a consumer and I see that, I think it highlights my awareness that those fees are happening. However, because of the decision we made in the past,
Yeah.
our customers don't actually see it. So from your perspective, it could almost be better if we made customers aware by saying like, hey, here's your thing and here's your extra fee on top. Because what it does, it forces consumers to be aware that that's what's happening to the bank. And it's not just, oh, the water district lets me use my credit card for free.
Many restaurants now have big signs. Be aware, you're using a credit card, debit card, we're charging you a X percentage.
So it's, it would be a change, but it certainly would, that's how consumers understand that that's happening. So that's a.
Let's get a movement started. Let's go to our
I don't
congressman.
object to saying it. I mean, when I see it on the, when I see it on my DMV fees and it's $40 or $50, it's not insignificant when you start.
Don't pay Kern County your property tax that way. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
About
yeah, so-
$50 or something like that,
I know,
yeah.
I know in the past that we were not allowed per our process server of credit cards to charge the fees to the customers. Now, that may have changed since then, but we did look at this back in 2018, 2019, and
But anything that gets passed on to a business is gonna get passed on, it's got to go somewhere.
indirectly. Yeah,
Indirectly. yeah.
indirectly.
And maybe it's just as, something as simple as sort of a notice. When you use your credit card, we pay these extra fees and you end up paying for that. So everybody knows.
Okay, I'm getting off my soapbox now.
That's okay. I think it's not a bad soapbox to
That's
be
it.
on.
On to item 7, future agenda items. Is there anything, Mel? We have the Grand Communities Water District Mutual Aid Agreement that's gonna continue to stay on there. I don't know if you're still working on that or,
We're attempting to.
Okay.
They have not yet designated the person there as an actual general manager with the authorities to enter into such agreements or to really negotiate that stuff. So they're working on it. I think that's the last we heard.
I would suggest that we consider, at some point, CSD is going to have some cost elements
Oh, yeah.
reflected on the water district. We might want to have some thinking about how.
well, I agree with you. I think that when the state comes to determination about what's going to happen there, what they're going to force to happen, something's going to hit the finance committee because there's things that Ty wants to have happen before management takes over. There's money that has to be coming from the state. We have to have guarantees how that happens. It doesn't. So I think that will all come here before, I think it should come here before it goes to the board because I think it's going to be fairly complex at the beginning, that there's going to have to be some things
We
done.
talked about it a little bit during
Yeah.
the P&E when I was on P&E last
Right.
year. But that was more out of convenience because it kind of pat the general category of consolidations but now it's getting real, right? And they'll be
It's going to get real. I figure 30 days, I think we're going to know something.
probably.
Yeah.
I think your question is very timely. Ty, not 2 hours ago, had a conversation about doing some special project work, perhaps, to look at how that transition would occur, what do their finances look like, start doing some preparatory work, just to sort of try to see what you can see from a public view and maybe understand some of those processes. So that may be something that we'll talk about in the future.
That's a good idea because don't forget what the state is going to ask when they say we want to consolidate, they're going to want a plan.
Yeah.
And obviously that part is the first part of the plan. Audits, what money needs to be spent, where's it coming from and how's, that's the very first part of the plan. So they're going to want a plan laid out of how we're going to get to the end result. And to me, the financial part is the very first part of the plan. And that's, I think, what it should probably hit here.
Right.
Yeah. If that's agreed.
Yep.
Can do that?
Totally agree. I think we
All righty.
Need to be thinking about it because it's going to be.
I don't think it'll be long. I think it'll be 30, 60 days. You're going to see something start coming up.
Yeah, I believe they have to have one more public meeting and that can't happen before the first part of April. The state has to have a public.
Oh, is that it? Whatever the state's decision is, whatever letter comes back
something
saying
like that.
start something?
Yeah. so-
Yeah, okay.
But that's coming up real soon.
What we don't want to happen is the state come out and lay out the plan. We'd rather lay out the plan ourselves and how it's going to work. But I want to rest assured here in our ratepayers and everything else that as I understand this, that the state's going to pick up the tab for this happening. That we're not going to be spending our ratepayers' money to do the management out there or to do construction or repairs or anything needs to be done to keep them going until we consolidate. That all comes from the state. And those are things I know that's on Ty's mind. How are we going to get it? And when does it come in? And how's it get done? Same thing, Renee's going to be right in the middle of that one too.
But, at some point, a casual discussion like we're having right now there's no cost impact on the district for having this discussion. But at some point, it will start to have an impact on Ty because his workload's going to change and he'll be doing things to address this and get ready for this that he might have otherwise be spending the time working orders. So how are we going to track?
Well, I would think, we shouldn't get into this because it's not on here, but we will get into this. I think that when our staff spends time on this, anybody in the staff, that there's got to be a way that gets charged back as a line item that we get reimbursed.
Yeah,
for.
we'll have charge codes so we can track that.
Track that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has to be, because you're right, he's going to spend time there as opposed to here. That needs to be paid for. Yeah, one way or the other. All right, we'll leave it at that. And we can put that on the agenda anytime you want. If you want to add it under future items for next time we meet, we can put it there. That way we can have a brief little discussion about it.
I think it's probably worth just as
Okay.
a nudge to keep us.
Whatever you want to call it, CSD financial or whatever.
Hopefully no more next month.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
I think the earlier we prepare, the better.
Yeah, I know.
The state's going to be real patient with us.
We're going to have I keep saying this every year. We're going to have a busy year. I don't think it ever changes. All right, any comments or anywhere? Now, I got one in the sky. I bet it's Renee. Renee, are you
Yes,
there?
yes, this is Renee Westelusk again. So you're talking about this Rand Communities Water District. They're gonna be undergoing a consolidation with the Indian Wells Valley Water District, similar to what
No,
we might have to do, well, the water district might have to do with ICSD.
No.
no.
No, what we're talking about is a mutual aid agreement. So earlier this year, or I guess late last year, there was a major storm event and they had some significant issues. As a result of that, I spoke to their, not their general manager, but the person who's administering their community services district out there, and let them know that we have resources which in an emergency, they could pay us to, bring out a backhoe, install pipe, help them out, restoring water service or other types of things. And these are very common amongst public agencies, where public agencies help each other out in emergencies. And there's generally a negotiated cost. And really, for us, it's always, this is just the cost of our labor and the cost of our materials and time that we have to pay, that they would pay us. So it's not a consolidation, it's more of a pre-negotiated agreement that would allow us to send assistance to that community in an emergency.
If you compare the staff that the water district has compared to the staff that Randsburg and even CSD have on hand to deal with emergencies, that they are much less prepared than we are. And so us being able to help them out can be a real lifeboat to help them out of problems. So it's good to have that thought about in advance, so you don't have to stumble with how do we help when we're in the middle of an emergency. You basically have a plan.
So it's an assistance thing, Renee. It's not a consolidation in any way.
Okay, so then I just have one other question. You're saying the state would come in and help pay for the necessary emergency equipment or whatever would be needed, or repairs?
No, you're confusing two things. The state would pay, we'd be responsible for paying any type of consolidation costs or management fees to consolidate with the CSD. Anything to do with
Okay.
this mutual aid agreement is just us saying, hey, or they're calling up and saying, we have a problem up here. We can't handle it. A pipeline washed out. And John, if you want to take that, and we would just go help them and then bill them for it.
Oh, okay.
Renee, this is the same thing we do with Inukurn already, that we've discussed, like when they've called us for leaks, we'll send equipment out, and then we just send them a bill to cover time and material. So it's the same thing we're just offering to another community in a time of need.
So you already have a mutual aid agreement with ICSD?
We've had it in place for years. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. All right. I understand it now. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anything from anybody else before we adjourn? Hearing nothing, we'll adjourn the meeting at 3:41 PM. Thank you.